This woman is extraordinarily woke, as everyone is in Hollywood, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White has made globally after 3 weekends.
You know, other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And it's a lot of this to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
At the outset, there was a developing apprehension regarding a well-known actor who performed a classic fairy tale, immediately generating debate in different quarters. This person adopted a persona associated with magic, longing, and naivete. However, it was clear from her behavior and public remarks that she considered the original content to be seriously out of date. She frequently disregarded the story's essential parts in favor of wishing us luck as princesses, rather than paying tribute to the aspects that had won over innumerable devotees.
If you are a business like Disney, you are leaning into what the movie Snow White meant to people that were raised on it. People like me who watched Disney princess movies when the world was okay and it was acceptable for us to dream about being a princess as a woman and meeting a handsome prince. But oh no, these big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous.
Her annoyance seemed startlingly inappropriate for someone entrusted with giving a beloved figure warmth and charm in interviews and social media posts. As a result of a significant milestone in animation and the addition of warmth and charm to an iconic figure, the part itself carried significant cultural and historical significance. The role itself, which sprang from an animation milestone and represented young optimism and ageless passion, carried significant cultural and historical weight. However, the performance acted as though these cherished attributes were no longer deserving of respect. Audiences expecting praise were met with a tone that bordered on contempt, implying that she did not like the traditional fairy tale as much as they did.
How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
As comments flooded in, several pointed out that she always appeared irritated when talking about the basics of the story. It was not a singular comment. She seemed to consider the adored prince and the kind heroine in search of love to be archaic or outdated. Lifelong admirers felt patronized and questioned why a heroine who was admired for her kindness and grace was being depicted by someone who seemed intent on pointing out the flaws that made the tale so timeless. With every successive interview, skepticism simply grew. Some attempted to justify her attitude as a clumsy attempt to modernize some things.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by Prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Renowned for her candid criticism, Candace Owens lost no time in criticizing the performer's contemptuous attitude, calling it both conceited and opportunistic. Owens maintained that it was ineffective to take a beloved role only to disparage the original story. According to her, entering such a cherished property should entail acknowledging the legacy bequeathed to you rather than disregarding it.
And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
Am I the only one that wishes it was 937 because I'm just so sick of this?
Long before the picture could stand alone, she insisted, with uncommon bluntness, that fans were being turned off by the lead's condescending. The public perception of the initiative was soon weakened by the performer's remarks. The company had spent a lot of money to adapt this well-known story into a live-action film, which would typically captivate audiences of all ages. However, any possible excitement was overpowered by the star's unwavering hostility.
Absolutely. She's just uniquely unlikable, but then it is actually a terrible film as well. So it's the double whammy.
Her criticism of the fairy tale's core dominated the conversation, and many people began to question if the new adaptation could even come close to capturing the original's allure. Reimagining a classic doesn't mean ignoring its core, Owens reaffirmed. The magic may be maintained while updating out-of-date components with a careful balance.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. The Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
Soon, there was a wider discussion about how to handle well-loved stories that might not be entirely consistent with contemporary ideals. Some contended that, even when updated, ancient stories should be treated with some respect because they capture the spirit of the times in which they were written. The principal actor, however, gave the impression that the foundation as a whole was hopelessly outdated and that drastic adjustments were necessary for it to be valuable.
For every one of the 18 hours I am in this Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
The notion that the original's conventional themes were irredeemable seemed like a personal slight to fans who loved it. Many others wondered why someone who seemed to be disdainful of the fairy tale took the role at all as the coverage went on. Owens and other observers questioned the casting process and whether it was prudent to give a crucial role to a performer who was so ready to critique the legacy of the story.
People have real problems. No one gives a shit if she got paid for 17 instead of 18 on her multi-million-dollar salary, which is not calculated by the hour.
The feeling that the new star treated the classic's distinguishing characteristics with little more than contempt was reinforced by interviews that should have raised expectation, but instead stoked continued anxiety. Observers in the industry naturally started making predictions that the film would be a box office failure. A large opening is usually guaranteed by a major studio release associated with such a well-known subject, but many prospective viewers were scared off by the performer's increasing reputation for demeaning the fairy tale.
So she just encapsulates everything that most of us cannot stand about modern-day feminism and the left in general, and Hollywood.
Fans expressed unhappiness on social media, pointing out that cynical commentary was overpowering the story's pure enchantment. When reports surfaced indicating major modifications to supporting characters that were essential to the original's identity, things became more heated. The idea unsettled devotees who had idolized these characters since they were young, who feared that the adaptation was removing cherished aspects in order to prevent any hints of antiquated narrative. Owen took advantage of this trend, arguing that such hasty changes revealed poor leadership and a lack of consideration for individuals who had loved or aspired to play these traditional positions.
Her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern-day America must make that choice.
Word eventually got out that the production had encountered numerous setbacks, reshoots that had to be done, and a flurry of bad press. The studio's top executives were frantically trying to save what should have been a guaranteed crowd pleaser, according to insider rumors. However, each time the celebrity spoke her opinions, she rekindled skepticism about the fairy tale's charmed spirit's ability to withstand such harsh criticism. Owens cautioned that her criticism ran the risk of destroying the movie's identity and stealing potential viewers' allegiance. Then things became much more tense. A significant portion of the prospective audience was the subject of the performer's politically inflammatory comments. These remarks went viral on the internet, prompting concerns about whether she was purposefully offending those who had different opinions.
You cannot both be a leader as a female and fall in love and be rescued by a prince. Like, that's incongruous bullshit. That's only the left's version of what it means to be a strong woman or female empowerment.
The criticism was severe for a picture that was purportedly family-friendly. Fans pledged to stay away from any project that had a performer that seemed overtly antagonistic.